Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Lebanon Board of Park Commissioners. I'd like to call the meeting to order and let the records show that all members are present except Mike Burns. If everyone's had a chance to review the minutes from the September 12th meeting, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Oh.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Is there any old business to come before the board?
Is the splash pad old business and
Do you want to give us an update? Since we haven't had another splash pad meeting, and
Yes.
I know they've had a dog park meeting. If you want to give us a quick update on both of those.
Okay, the splash pad, we're actually, it's in front of our city attorneys now, looking at purchasing the different features that we have for the park to see if we can purchase those outright to save the city some money before installation. The contracts we're hoping are in a couple, 3 more weeks or 2 more weeks, hopefully mid-October. We want to get bid documents and all that out. We still probably have 1 more meeting to finalize some of the design work. There again, there's a little bit of discussion. However, we will have more talking about recirculating the water. Talked to the utilities. The utilities said we could use the well house, which would save us quite a bit of money to house all our pumps and the retention to recirculate the water. So those discussions have been had. We have to have no finalization with the attorneys and make sure that there's an agreement between us and the utilities to use the building. It's an empty well house that's just north of the desired spot for the splash pad at Abner Longley, and still in discussion with them, but so far we've got an okay and all that. And the general manager retired today for the utilities, so I'll have discussions with the new interim general manager, Trace, which I've spoke with him a little bit, and I think he's on board with it. But that's where we are on the splash pad. There again on the dog park, we had a meeting last week looking at different fence prices. We had 3 contractors out, got bids for that. However, there was discussion on possible different location, and the discussion was that the park board's already approved the area where we were going to go with the original fencing. I'll show you just real quick. Okay, here we go. This is the, okay. This is nothing. This is John Lashley right there. There we go. Okay, there we go. All right. We have this part right here, and just so you figure where we are, that is Noble Street. That is right here is Noble Street, and this is where the original area was discussed about a dog park and the park board approved. And this is another area that was discussed at our last meeting. This is John, you know, northwest east. What is that? That is over in the corner.
You would be south. It would be southeast of Noble.
Yeah, there's a little glare on it, but back there is where the shooting range was capped. So there's that drive that would go, the drive would go right along.
It's basically behind the 3 houses that are there on the left side as you turn in the main entrance.
And that's just a dead space area, and I think at our meeting was discussed that that's just a dead area back there, as far as we have no plans in our master plan for that. So that was a discussion that we had, so that's where we were with that. Surely, John, did I miss anything on that? We are looking at wrought iron fencing now. We're getting other 3 quotes to look at different fencing. But that was the area that was discussed at the last meeting. The subject was that the park board had already approved the certain area in front of the Conservation Club. This is another location that was discussed. That part of the parcel is about 1 acre and total, plenty of shade in there. There again, there will be some KV-69 coming through there also. But that's just another location that was discussed at our last meeting.
Well, and Shirley and I also talked about actually minimizing what we originally talked about.
Yes,
as far as
that's true.
Right.
What did that, do you remember what the original amount was as far as acreage? It wasn't quite an acre.
It was 270 feet by 180 feet.
So it's not even an acre.
Yeah, it was, yeah, it was bigger than an acre.
This is bigger than
What
an
did you
acre.
say?
Yeah, 280 by 170. Here,
Oh,
get my
280.
calculator out, yeah. 280 feet. I didn't even ever look at what the square footage. Yeah, it's a little over an acre. Yeah, 50.
47,000.
Yeah,
John, since we didn't know that that property was ours for sure,
yes.
would we be legitimate in bringing it up as a reconsideration or a consideration? Since that was new information brought before
Surely
us?
surely could. I don't know if everybody wants to.
Surely could.
Surely you could. There you go. That's right. We sure could. There you go. As far as that, the last discussion was there. You know, as far as location, that's where it was. It was discussed about bringing up this other area, so that's up for discussion. If everybody wants to go and take a look at it and see if that area is good. There are properties that it's right next to. Again,
There's a good distance between where the fence would be and
yeah.
There's a
their
little bit of a
property.
buffer
So, I
there.
mean, I don't think it would be something that'd be right next to.
And the discussion on the dog park is shrinking it, not making it quite as far.
Large as it was, yeah.
Yeah, and
I don't have as big, I mean, I honestly don't have as big a problem, at least personally myself, it being this big, you know, even an acre.
an acre.
This over here, I just think it took too much out of our very frontage.
The frontage,
And to
that's-
me, you know, when you go, I think you're gonna take an awful lot away from the park if you have the dog park there. If you have it back here, I don't care how big it is, you know.
Right. Oh, yeah,
Depending on the money.
exactly,
Yeah, because it could be an
exactly.
acre if we choose for it to be an
And
acre.
I'm like John, when you drive by there, it'd be wonderful to be able to look out there and see the pond
The
and
pond and the trees
the
and the
trees.
buildings
I mean,
and
that's
things
gonna
that
be
we planned,
beautiful
yeah.
when we're done.
Yeah, we've started cleaning up at where the old entrance used to be, the conservation, and where the club was. Started cleaning that all out, taking all the honeysuckle, the Japanese barberry, trees that are 2 inches in caliper or less, just cleaning up the invasive species. And I'm telling you, it looks sharp. They've done a very nice job, very hard work there, and clean. I'm going to skip from there now over to near the football field, and you'll start seeing that. Try and open it up before the haunted trail so people can kind of get a feeling of what it's going to look like. And there again, it's a lot of work. That was 2.5 weeks of work and quite a bit of work, needless to say. And now we have some time. We're getting in there. Oh man, that's a beautiful piece of property. It really is.
The one thing I did notice, John, I guess worried me a little bit, and I know you're aware of it, but there's an area that's back over in here where you're saying, I think it's right over in here, to where, I mean, it just, there's steps, but I mean, it just goes.
It's steep, yeah.
Very steep. Are we gonna do something with that to try to eliminate?
Before we let foot traffic, well, I mean, right now we're opened up, you know, Friday,
Understood,
Saturday,
right.
Sunday. But yeah, Dan Lamar and I have talked about it, and there's going to have to be signage. Talked with Deb Schmucker on that. There's different signage. There's different kind of, you don't want to put up a lot of walls or anything like that because people dive off the walls then and make a little intriguing there. So there are different things we can do to keep the focus or keep them away from traveling there. I mean, if kids want to find a way, they'll find a way, I'm
Understood.
sure, but
So
yeah, to at
do
least
we-
make
Do we
it work.
want to consider making a motion that we're open to another location for
Probably.
the dog park?
I would think so,
Saying that,
since-
put it out as a motion that we have an option of another location.
Right,
at
because the
conservation.
last time the park board all said, that's the area we're going. I
Well, we
think when the
agreed
mayor
to
was here.
give that
they-
area, but now we
Yeah.
could make a motion that there's a possible another
Yeah.
option of property in the conservation.
You want to leave it to Shirley and John's discretion, or would you two rather bring it back to the park board? Would you rather, yeah, however you want to do it.
I mean, we put
You
them
guys
on the
make your-
committee. I mean, I'm good with whatever.
Or would you rather bring it back to the park
I
board?
think-
Yeah.
Personally, I think it'd be
Everybody.
better to bring it back to the
Okay.
park board.
There you go. There you
I
go.
do have a question.
Yes.
That original location, I'm all for the change, okay, but
Mm-hmm.
the original location, wasn't that selected by Mayor Gentry? And I wondered, where does he fit in making a change
Yeah,
at
he
this
was part
point?
of the committee
He was
too, and we
on-
Oh,
sat
okay,
down.
good.
And that's one of the things he brought up. He said, wait a second, this is where originally proposed the dog park, but I don't know what your feelings were. I thought he was okay with that parcel. Yeah, he'd prefer, I'm sure, the other parcel.
He prefers the parcel.
Noble Street, yeah.
The what?
He prefers where it's sitting right now.
The original?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, do we want to hold off and just let them
Yeah.
come back to the park board?
How about we
with
do
what-
that? We'll have
That's
another
fine.
meeting. We'll get some, but just to let you know that we went from chain link, we went from composted fencing to chain link to now we're looking at wrought iron. So I'll get 3 more. I'll have these contractors come back with 3 more. Shirley just gave me another total, another dog park fencing company. And Superior, I think, was another one that we'll get some more bids in for that.
Okay.
We'll meet again, probably a couple more times. Same thing with the splash pad. That's kind of where we are. We're still in those stages. But hopefully bid documents, I've told, same thing with the maintenance barn that we're doing down there in the restroom at Memorial. The topography, and a lot of that's already in progress. But spoke with Gary Ladd last Friday and said with all these contractors, we need to get the bids out now.
Yeah.
It's
Yes,
getting,
we're
snow's
running
gonna
out of
fly
good
and.
The weather is.
Yeah,
gonna be a
and here we
factor.
have the monies too, and it's nice to
Yeah.
get these projects. Waiting on one more asphalt bid for the trails in the park in Memorial Park. Got 2, they're very reasonable, I feel, and pretty close together. Triangle and I believe Baumgart was one. I'm waiting on Young and Son for the other bid on that. When I do, I'll let everyone know where we are on that, but hopefully with your approval, I'll go ahead the lowest bid and move forward on those and get them signed in, and that's where we are on those 3 projects.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah, because we don't want to hold anything up anymore.
Probably so. Probably need a
Need a
motion for me
motion for
to
that,
approve the,
to approve.
Well, they'll have to go to the attorney, the bids will.
okay. Okay.
I'm sure they,
I get confused with that too, because they'll be under 50, but maybe together they would be over 50.
well, I'm talking about to make sure everything's in.
Oh, the
that-
contracts, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
those would have to be.
Yeah, so it might be November before we sign off on them, okay?
But if we want to make a motion for you to sign the agreements, I have no
Okay.
That's
problem
what we
with
were-
that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd make a motion that we allow John to make the decision for the trail path in the park upon the attorney looking over the.
Okay, are we just talking the trail or talking the maintenance barn and restrooms too?
That'd
Well, we
be-
can add those as
Yeah.
well.
I think
Wanna add
just,
those? Okay.
yeah, I hate to hold anything up. If we can move, if it'll move it.
I'll also add on to the maintenance barn and the restrooms at the same time as the bids for the asphalt for the trails.
I second it.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, now moving on to new business. First on the agenda is Casey Sampson to present a new event at Abner Longley Park.
Good evening. I'm actually also joined with my wife, Abby.
Okay.
So we are proposing an event on the second weekend of June of this next year. So that'd be June 8th and 9th of 2019. So for those of you that don't know me, we're going to give you a quick introduction of who we are and what we do. Again, my name is Casey, is my wife, Abby, and together we collectively own 3 businesses, all of which are here in Lebanon. We own Sampson Family Leather, which is the leather shop here in town.
I'm sure they may or may not have taken something from, we don't know.
We just actually got our sidewalks installed today also, so, and we do our grand opening next Tuesday, so little plug there. A lot of people don't realize we also own Sampson Historical, which is an 18th century merchant. It's a catalog business, mail order, along with, we do traveling trade shows, so if you've ever heard of the Feast of the Hunter's Moon, or maybe just last weekend where they had the Civil War days here, Andy Folks has a Civil War business. We have an 18th century business, 2 different time periods, but pretty similar in what we do there. And then the last thing that we do, as if there's not enough time to do everything, is that we also own and publish a magazine. And that's Reliving History magazine. It's a nationally distributed magazine. It's locally produced here. The only thing we actually don't do is print it, but it's mailed through here. Everything's done here local, which we're pretty proud of.
What's the name of it?
Reliving History magazine.
Thank you.
So now we're going to tell you a little bit about what we're actually offering. So as all of you know, quality of life events are something that's really popular with our city right now. And in our industry, we go to a lot of different reenactments and historic events. In our time period in 18th century, there wasn't a lot going on. If we remember the little dates behind us, 1832 was when Lebanon was actually founded. But Indiana as a whole actually did see a lot of events during the 18th century. Fort Weotnon, which we go to this weekend for the feast, that fort was actually established in 1717. So it goes back way into the early part of the 18th century. And so what we want to bring is a nice family event that's family friendly, affordable, safe, and educational to Lebanon citizens and surrounding areas. So there you kind of see the public interaction with the reenactments. It's very, very similar to what we have at the Memorial Park for the Civil War reenactment. It's just a lot of different changes in the clothing. Rev War is a lot more colorful. It's not the blue and the gray. It's every color you can imagine. It's a lot brighter, and there's also a lot more countries represented during that time versus only the United States. So there's a vast amount of knowledge that can be taught during this specific time period. Something else we think is kind of important is it brings Lebanon onto the map. This event would draw reenactors from multiple different states. We've already had interest in reenactors coming down from Wisconsin and as far east so far as Pennsylvania, coming to Little Lebanon. There's not a lot of 18th century events in central Indiana, just around the Indianapolis metropolitan area. The closest one to us is Lafayette and maybe Kokomo. But anything south of there, there's nothing until you get down to Vincennes. So there's a big gap in the map, and we want to fill that. And we also think we get a lot of the visitors from our local community and surrounding areas as well. Kind of how we think that we can pull this off, we want to let you know we're serious. So, and with that, we're actually establishing a nonprofit organization to help run this event. And with that way we can seek advertising grants and other sources of income. We have a lot of experience in social media marketing, which can draw those out of town and out of county, out of state visitors to come into Lebanon. We have a lot of industry knowledge. We've been doing this I've been doing it my whole life. My dad and grandfather started the business in 1982. So we have a lot of connections in getting people here and establishing events.
I've heard there's a national magazine that's going to run an ad for it.
Yeah, our magazine may be running an ad. But one of the competitive advantages that we have is we feel we have the experience it takes. We do over 20 shows a year. There's been a couple times that we've done over 30 shows a year. And that's kind of hard to see there, I understand. But that's just a small screenshot of the places that we have gone. Everywhere from here in Indiana down to Maryland, Tennessee, New York. We go down to South Carolina in November, which is perfect timing to get out of the cold. So we do this a lot. A key part too is the community involvement. So I'm going to go switch back to the feast again. All their food vendors are local nonprofits, so churches, civic organizations, scout troops, and they set those up where those community-based organizations actually receive money, a portion of that money that they sell there. And so that is, for some, a very, very large portion of their yearly operating budget from these types of events. Now, of course, we know this first year that's probably not going to happen, but we expect this to grow. And we think at Abner Longley Park, we actually have the opportunity to make this into a large-scale event. Interestingly, the area that we're looking at Southside Park is not much smaller than the park that they do the Feast of the Hunter's Moon in, and that, you know, how many people, if you've ever been there, it is just an amazingly large event. So Boy Scouts, we usually see those individuals get involved with selling ice, collecting and disposing of trash. You always have Lions Club, Rotary, all those types of organizations that sell food. And there in the bottom, you can see we'd like to set up stalls in future years where the civic organizations would dress up, kind of play that part, and having a food vendor stand. For this first year, we're not going to have that. That's a lot to undertake, as not only as an event, but for our first year, some organizations are going to want to spend that type of money to come up with the clothing and other things. But there is a pretty large availability for money, I believe, if you go there. So that was a quick synopsis. We can take any questions if you want now. For whatever reason, before this saved, it didn't save the actual aerial shot that we want to do this at. But for your kind of geographic reference, it'd be from the basketball courts south to all the way to the south of the edge of the property, and then all the way east. So butting up against the nature trail, and so we would utilize parking right beside where on the grass, similar to how Symphony at Sunset uses it. And then the large open area where the soccer fields and the soccer benches are, that's not utilized very often, is where we would actually have the site set up. And I'd be happy to show you exactly where that would be laid out if you'd like. But I guess with that, we can take any questions if you have any.
Is power going to be an issue out there for the vendors, or?
So for, at least for the food vendors, a lot of those would have their own generator, like if we're looking at food trucks probably for this year mainly.
Okay.
And then other vendors, I wouldn't imagine power would be an issue.
Okay.
I had spoke with John briefly about electrical opportunities, and we would obviously connect and pay for that meter during that time. We probably will go ahead and connect that meter. We're still very much in the infancy of this, but we wanted to make sure we could have a date and a location first before we spend a lot of time.
And the meter we talked about was the haunted trail that we have down there next to the nature center, using that power from that.
I just wanted to make sure that.
That way it can be metered and they could pay for the,
yeah. That's easy enough. I just wanted to make sure there was going to be enough, but.
And there would be camping overnight for the 2 nights, correct?
Correct.
Would that be the 7th and 8th they would camp and then leave the 9th, or?
Most likely, we do have, since there are some people that will be traveling well out of state, a lot of the events allow the vendors and campers to set up actually on Thursday night, Thursday afternoon, evening. We're negotiable with that, and then some of them would stay over on Sunday. So potentially actually having somebody there, camping from Thursday night on. There are sites that mandate that we vacate on Sunday, but the only thing that I would like to keep in consideration is if we have the unfortunate event of rain, it is nice to be able to have the next day to tear down if it's dry. So we'd like to have that extra cautionary day.
So you've scheduled, these dates are open?
Yes.
For the park, and you've been through that?
Sure have. The burning, there would be fires, campfires, you would be burning fires. I mean, those things we'd have to do, We do allow it for the Civil War reenactment. Would it be the same type that the grounds would be brought back, or?
Exactly the same type.
Okay.
I think on a Parks Board level, you probably won't see any difference logistically wise from the Civil War to our event.
And that is right around before the 4th of July and the symphony comes in. So from that basketball, I didn't know it was going to be there.
Well,
and that,
I guess
you know where I'm talking?
Yeah, the campers would only.
We really try and pretty that up for symphony, and I'd hate to see.
Yeah, it may actually not basketball. It would be tennis courts where the cars park for Symphony would be the
Yes.
same place that they would.
Okay. But your event would be hugging around the nature center or nature trail and all that, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
It's going to be primarily focused on the east side of the property.
Okay, but not around that. Do you know where Symphony sets up? Are you aware
Yes.
where? Okay, I just want to protect that. That's all that and we discussed that at the time, I think, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't bring a map. That's my bad.
I'm going to pull up one now here so we can,
Yeah.
I can point exactly where we're going.
There you go. But that would be the only concern I had. But and the Sampsons are both aware that the splash pad should be installed by that, and I didn't want them to, know. I wanted them to be aware that there would be people playing down there and all that in the splash pad, and that would be active unless they would want to shut down and ask the board to shut that down at the time. But it's going to be pretty fresh at that time, and I said, I don't think we'll be shutting it down.
And if we
Yeah.
don't think
And
we're
you said it was
there,
okay.
It's not an issue at all.
Yeah.
We don't feel that would be any, so actually, now we can see the screen here.
There, good job.
The actual event, there's these trees right here. This is where the entrance will be. The majority of the camps, actually all the camps and sutlery area, which are the vendors, are going to be in this section right here. And we're looking at utilizing this area and potentially this area also, I guess, for parking. And I would like to work with the Parks Department on seeing exactly how the traffic flow works, and I'm sure we can work with that. So I guess I was off base, and it was the tennis courts.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
I said, that's my baby. Don't want anything for
No.
Symphony here. Yeah, that's,
It's this area here where we would have parking, and the actual event would happen over
Yes.
here where nothing's at.
yeah, I think my 2 cents. I think it's a great, addition to the park, another event, and there you go. We're liable to help, and you said as far as wouldn't be a big strain on the Parks Department either, other than trash and things like that. That would be about it, I believe.
Correct, yeah. We would handle almost everything. The only thing we'd want to work with is prior to the event with the parking and just the trash pickup. But again, with those scouts, we expect to have a general location where it would just be, maybe we throw it in the bed of a dump truck or however that would be, whatever would be
And
available to us.
the only other thing would be rain, parking on that with rain. And I would work with you, cancellation. We've canceled Symphony several times, I think, over the past few years due to the destruction of them coming in. And that would be the only issue that I could foresee that would be any trouble at all. You know what I mean? Where we had to cancel. I remember Lori French saying, hey, we got 6 inches of rain. There's no way we'll get cars stuck out there in the fields, and that was the only. So maybe having a plan B at Stokes or something set up like that, for parking and a shuttle service, or that would be that's the only things I can think about at this time. That would be that I thought after we spoke would be, but
Once our campers are in, they typically don't leave.
there you go.
No, really, they don't. We are used to these 18th century events. We set up, we camp, and we live in 18th century style that entire weekend. So we are there.
That's awesome.
And so, again, the only thing we might need is that Sunday for camps to dry out. If you put away a wet tent, our style tents, they're fabric, they mold. So we might have more people that stay over. But if we have the smaller units, can actually carry most of their stuff in and out if they have to get out. So it's not a lot of in and out traffic. Once our participants are there, our participants are there.
But it would be gone by that Sunday. Everybody be cleared out and all that. So when we came in,
You'll get a very few people that stay over, 2 or 3 tents total, and those are probably the larger tents that are larger sutleries, larger stores, and that would be a very rarely. I don't think I've ever seen a military encampment stay because their tents are small.
they'd be out by Monday though, probably.
Everybody's
okay.
out by Monday.
Because I mean,
Probably 10 a.m.
that's when our rush comes to pretty everything up down there, top trees.
As soon as the
and-
dew burns off, they're gone.
There you go. Okay, all right. Yeah,
That's a very,
yeah, and charging for the event, and you'll take care of that, and tickets or whatever you do
All of
there. So there, that's. Any questions? I pretty well covered, I think, everything. We've talked a couple times about the event. and everybody's aware of everything, so.
I think it's great to bring an activity such as
I just-
that to the south side. I think it's a really good thing.
too.
I was curious about the charging, because, so the general public wouldn't necessarily just come by. It's really for people who've registered to participate.
Actually, no, it's the general, it would be open and advertised to the general public. Unlike the Civil War event in Memorial Park where it's free range, the event that we're looking for would be an admission price, but we're also offering a full schedule of every day of entertainment, activities, and it's a pretty nominal. I mean, I think we're looking at 3 and 5 or 5 and 4 or 6 and 4, something like that, to keep the cost down low. But we're looking at bringing entertainers from all over the area and outside of the state to come here. So it's an entertainment show as well.
I love the idea of bringing that kind of cultural opportunity to the south side, just as an educator. I think that's a really good thing. And so I think it's a plus to have the splash pad there, because you may just coincidentally get some participation of people that may not have even realized that was going on
Yeah,
until
with
they
the
come
new
up.
I fully agree. In fact, I think that's one of the things I told John when we met. I said, "Oh, we don't want to close it. That's a plus. That's going to bring
I was
extra
gonna
people."
say.
Exposure.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
They could run home and tell their parents, or the parents there. Yeah, I
And
think.
insurance would be the other thing that, as long as you have the proper insurance, I think we're $1 million liability or whatever it is, I think.
It'll be a $2 million. is
2
what we would
million,
have.
yeah, that's,
Because there obviously would be the black powder weapons, just like the Civil War has. And
and we discussed horses.
yes, that was one of my next questions.
Oh, look at the lights.
We were approached by an organization called Horses in Action, and it was an organization that's actually originally founded on the East Coast. And Horses in Action, what they do in this time period, called dragoon units, and they're horse-mounted units, kind of like a cavalry, which you can imagine. But in the 18th century, they're called dragoons. And they do their own performances and displays. Now, it's not like a medieval times jousting. This is very organized militaristic demonstrations on how they work with the horses. The training that they go through, and we can, if we needed to come to a different meeting to discuss this, we'd be welcome to that. But the training that these horses go through is the exact same training that police-mounted horses go through. And I know, Laura, you're familiar with horses, so you might be familiar with the program, but it is a very stringent program, and in order to be certified, they have to pass all these different tests, and they also come with their own insurance as well. That is something that I think could draw a large amount of public and participants, and I think would be a nice amenity to have at the Southside Park, specifically in that area where it isn't, I guess, beautified as much right now. It's just an open field. And so we would like to seek the board's input on that.
What type of damage does it normally do?
Well, we were at, there's Cantini Park in Wheaton, Illinois, which is a very famous golf course and field museum. They are probably the world's pickiest grass inspectors.
Oh, man, I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, I mean, we're not even allowed to use fire pits. We have to use a metal grate on top of the grass, a metal plate. So there's a lot that they're particular with, and they don't cause that much damage. These they're going to eat, but Abby may know a little bit the damage ones.
So mainly the only type of damage, they'll munch the grass down. But other than that, there's really none. These horses in this organization, they're used to essentially performing at places like George Washington's Mount Vernon, places that have extremely manicured lawns, extremely expensive places, and they don't get rowdy, anything like that. There's no galloping across a wet field. They're also very practical people. They're expensive animals who've gone through expensive training. So if that ground isn't suitable, they will not perform. Simply because they don't want to risk that damage to not only the ground, but also their animals with a slip or a fall. I have not seen any specific damage. They're actually going to an event this weekend called Dollinger Farm, and it's in Illinois. But they actually have the horses and they have between 6 and 8 in a paddock, and they leave and you'd hardly tell they were even there, and they're there all weekend. They're very well kept, and the unit is very conscious of the specifications of these, again, very expensive and very elite places. That's why they get to go to Mount Vernon and others don't.
And we're saying Mount Vernon in Virginia, not Mount Vernon, Indiana. So.
The actual, they ride across George Washington's lawn, which is really, really cool to see.
Oh, yeah.
I assume they, meaning the trainers or their owners, would be the ones responsible for cleanup and making
Absolutely.
sure everything
And-
is.
And that's how they do it the whole event. That's kind of their go-to thing. The only thing they ask is like I think he said like a week or something before the event not to mow an area so they have a little bit of grass to eat. But that's really their only request.
So how do they house them there? They just put up a temporary like corral and so
Typically,
they
they
can.
run a line. They run a line and tether, and then they will actually rope off that area. So that becomes kind of the break area for those horses. There's not public allowed past that line.
Okay.
So you won't have kids that run up and are free to pet or anything like that. These are animals that have been trained as police animals, though very friendly. As anybody typically knows, you can startle any animal. So they don't.
Absolutely.
They don't allow, they give them that break area. So they're back away from the public. They string a line and then tie them so they can still move down that line. Does that make sense? I'm sorry.
And these are also essentially display only. This is not an amusement ride, so there would be no chance that that a member of the public or anybody that's not, I guess, the owner of that horse,
Right.
On the animal.
Yeah, these horses have one rider.
How many total horses normally end up showing up?
Well, we've had a lot of interest in this event, believe it or not. So, like I said early in the presentation, nobody has had an event in the past probably 20 years in this area. With that being said, we've already known that we have 3 that are interested in bringing their horses, 1 apiece. And we obviously can limit that if so desired. I don't think we've ever been to an event that there's been more than a dozen. No. And that was a very large national event. So typically, like the event we were at a couple weekends ago in Wheaton, Illinois, I think there was a total of 4.
I would say 6 is a high, but attainable number.
That's really not that bad. I mean, you're the groundskeeper.
Oh, no.
I'm going to be, because
I know
I would like to see
the
it.
Civil War reenactment and the Historical Society has asked for horses, and we've told them no every time. So that's what I told the Sampsons also. I said,
Okay.
I think
just
the main
telling you, I don't doubt they're highly trained, but they still leave marks, and it is what it is.
I think the main consideration is that these do come, again, with their own insurance. They are a sanctioned organization. They're an elite organization. They aren't somebody bringing their pet horse from their family farm. So they hold their status in high regard and know they have to maintain to keep that.
And I think another point to the board also is that this is a different park and a much different location with a lot different distractions. One of the things that we really very much considered in doing this event was distractions, and which is why we chose to go to Southside Park or Abner Longley versus Memorial. We believe that could be a much safer environment for equestrian use versus Memorial Park, where it's open. We can also secure this area better than I think you potentially could at Memorial Park. So I would like to point that out, that I think there's a different venue, is a different case.
And while you do have demonstrations that would happen on essentially the parade field, as we would call it, those horses, for the most part, are going to be off to the back and off to the side, separated. So they're not going to be in that main, living in that main thoroughfare where people are going to be walking. They're going to be off near the woods. So that's not some place that somebody's going to be, running through the middle of.
Are there going to be battles? I've never been to one.
Correct.
So there'll be battles, so the dragoons will be riding the horses and
that is very much
animated,
open.
Whatever, okay.
Yeah, that's open to, there's some sites that limit that and limit their use, and there's some that are full use. In talking with the unit leaders, it's probably going to be a sideshow during the battle, so off to the side and not an actual contact.
Okay.
We probably wouldn't have the numbers of horses to have an actual contact with the horses. However, they would be able to do separate demonstrations where they could show simple, essentially combat moves with those animals.
All righty. There you go.
And you may have touched on this, Casey, and if you have, I didn't understand or lost track of thought. where, if the horses were allowed, where would those horses actually be stalled or?
Sure.
or
I
where
actually-
would they be corralled at? Good word, thank you.
I don't think I did touch on that, so that's a good point. It'd be on the very farthest east and north side of that area. So I can actually go right back to that. And so what we were imagining, thank you, in the back, in this general area. This gives the horses shade in the back. It's far enough from, so the actual event will be set up in what's called a double U, not a W, but as in two U's. So there'll be rows of vendors here, and then on the inside, such as this. The battlefield will be in this area.
That floods quite a bit too in the spring, just so
Okay.
you're aware of it.
And I
We're
kind of
working
noticed
on
that
that, though.
on the darkness. The other option that we had considered was this area
Yeah.
up in here. And again, that's out of the public, so the horses, when they're stalled, they would be able to be viewed by the public, but not accessed.
And that keeps the animals lower stress also, to keep them, have that safe space.
There you go.
And from there, how much of the area would they be
So it's a tethered.
running around, or how much of the area are they going to be
As far as during the demonstrations?
the whole
or-
the whole weekend?
Okay.
What
So-
would be their?
I think corral-wise would be the greatest potential for destruction. I think we could all agree there. And that area is very minimal. And let me show you.
Think of a clothesline strung between two trees. That's essentially, they are able to move down that rope, so you have a very narrow area they're technically corralled in to kind of their own devices. It's going to be long and skinny. Thank you.
So, and on Memorial Day weekend every year, there is an event in Vincennes, Indiana, and it's called the Spirit of Vincennes. It's a larger event and in a much smaller venue that we have available to us. So as we zoom in here, the horses, they have 3 that are tethered, are right actually inside this area right here. And we're looking at about probably 100, according to this little map down here, probably I'd say 100 feet by 50 foot area, and there's 3 horses there.
That's 3 horses and the camps for those riders.
So, and I think if we had a larger space, so if we go back to where we were here, a larger space, the area would be spread out more if that's what we were concerned with. During the presentation, I don't see, other than a potential cleanup job, I don't see where there'd be any worry.
Okay,
Are we ready for a motion?
I don't know, because I don't know. Can we hear what you're talking about?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. No.
Because
He just wondered if the Civil War reenactment is coming before the board and asked for horses.
Before the board and ask for horses?
And I don't
Did
know
you
that
know?
they
I don't
ever.
remember that
I know
they've
that
ever-
I don't think,
the people in charge have always, I don't remember it for the last 10 years, but I know that I've been asked by the leaders of that group.
I don't ever
if they can
remember
have
it coming
horses.
before the board.
But it never came. I pretty well steered it away. I said, oh, no, they won't go for it. Pretty much told you the same thing. I said, good luck, because I didn't think you'd go for it. So there you go.
I mean, I think
It's
it
two
would.
different properties, like Casey said.
It
It's pretty
is
much
two different properties.
properties.
It's a much calmer area
Yeah.
down there for horses, and this sounds like, horses
I
that
think it
are,
would be neat.
I think it would be
I mean,
very
I
neat.
think
There you go.
it would be, very interesting to.
That's why I left it all up to you, because I try and please everybody, and there you go. That's,
Okay. And, if they have, I mean, I don't really think Memorial Park is probably, because it's too active. It's not too.
those cannons
not
go off
country.
and those horses take off. So well, you have cannons and noise like
But
that.
again, those police-trained horses,
They're-
they experience live fire from the beginning of
Okay.
the
I was
training.
going to say, I think
Yeah.
we're looking at 2 different
Yeah.
Well, it might be one of those kind of things that if this is the first year for this event,
Try it.
we give it a try,
There you go.
and if that doesn't meet well, then we make a change for the future.
And we're going to work very diligently, and I
Okay.
would love to have the board out to inspect for the areas that we use and give us your full and honest feedback so we can address any issues that you may have.
There you go.
Done a great presentation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry it's long. I was afraid, I really tried
Yeah,
to speed
really.
it up. I give too much information.
Man.
No, I would like to give it a try. I mean, from what they've told me, I know these kind of organizations and these horses aren't just trailering in and have never been anywhere. I mean, they've been there, they've seen that, they've done that.
Just stay off
there,
my
done
symphony grass, symphony sunset grass.
They're going to be far away from
We will
Symphony
get-
Grass.
That's all I,
He's gonna have a big, huge fence going all the
Yeah,
way
put
around
a
it.
police tape around it, John.
that is the only
they're far
concern.
away from
That's
the
a big
symphony.
event for the parks. That really is.
And we don't want to hinder that event at all.
Yeah,
We're-
yeah.
But I think this is
There you
I think
go.
this would be
I do.
fascinating for everybody, and I love the location, and I think, and like, we can, talk to the Civil War people on this again, but these organizations, they know exactly what they're doing, and, I see no danger, no problems.
Again, they'll have insurance and I'll
Absolutely.
hold the
We'll be
insurance,
sure.
so there we go.
Do you need a motion?
I would make,
I move that we accept this festival at the Southside Park.
With horses.
I'm sorry,
With horses.
We're not going to hear the end of
with
that, are we?
horses.
should we put something in there in regards to if the horses are an issue, then
I-
next year it won't be allowed?
It's a trial,
It is, yeah.
Okay.
On a trial basis,
horse trial.
horse trial.
Horse trial.
We can, on a trial basis.
To amend my motion to say, as a starting, to approve the horses, and to, if it were to continue, that it be brought back to the board, and we would discuss it again.
Absolutely.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. That was a very nice presentation.
Good luck.
I think it's great. I do. Robin, you're up, or go ahead, or Lori's gonna, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. No, that's fine. Okay, next is Robin Vermillion with Relay for Life at Memorial Park.
I haven't seen one of those in 20 years.
There you go.
All right. Hi, my name's Robin Vermillion. I'm a 5-time skin cancer survivor. I received 5 letters. I'm sorry. Tell me I had cancer. I didn't understand that I had cancer. I have had 16 moles removed. I've been in remission for 2 years. I've gone to the Relay for Life. This will be my 9th year. I'm a visual learner. I've overcame dyslexia, autism, and ADHD. I volunteer with the Boone County Sheriff's Department. And I can visualize like if you guys were waking up on May 5th, you guys went to church, and you guys went to the Relay for Life. I'm just supposed to sit this on here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then those gurus back there will pop it up.
The gurus back there.
There they
I
go.
heard
Yeah.
talking earlier, and I didn't know that there was anybody back there, so I thought it was going crazy.
There you go.
The reason why I wanted to do it May 5th is because a lot of the cancer survivors at the previous relays were complaining with the heat. They were also complaining with the talent factory being over loud, too loud, whatever the term is. One time we had it indoors, and it was last year. Now, our committee has since retired for the Zionsville relay as well as ours. The main lady that was in charge, I'm so sorry that I don't have any names, had health problems. She's kind of an older lady. And she stepped down, as well as the board for Zionsville and the Lebanon. So there was nobody step up to the plate. I've been a caregiver for 21 years. I've been out of work, so I have time. And when somebody has a criminology degree, we need to be occupied with something constructive. Yeah, because if we're not, then we're paranoid. I am a musician. I showcased in Nashville. I did America's Got Talent Frontline Audition Pass. And I was getting ready to run out the stage, and then I thought, that's a little overpowering, you know, because I'm up. They were complaining about the noise. So I was just sitting there thinking the acoustics of the stage, my equipment, if I had a band come, that would be too much. So then I went to the park, and I bet everybody thought I was crazy with all their cameras or whoever's watching the cameras, because I was walking around, and I was visualizing the day of my event, okay? And I said, this isn't right. I love the stage. I love the historic stage. It would have been awesome to perform on it, but I sing a cappella. I don't have a band. I sing all genres of music, and I said, you know what, I absolutely love the gazebo. So if you're coming in on the day of the event, it's May 5th, which is Cinco de Mayo. Now that's not Mexican Independence Day. I will actually be speaking about it. You come in on the Meridian.
Yeah, Meridian Street entrance.
The Meridian Street entrance. And then the little circle here is where they're going to be walking at. We previously thought we were going to have them walk around the stage area. The reason why we did not is, as a caregiver, I work with a pistol. My pistol's name is Linda, okay? Linda is a retired nurse. She's 77 years old, and she has a walker. Now, if you were going to make her walk with her walker through the grass, that could cause problems where I would have to step in as a caregiver with elderly people or people using a walker that aren't elderly. We also have friends of mine that are in mobilized wheelchairs. Now, they need to be able to get their mobilized wheelchair. They cannot do that through the grass. I was thinking, you know, we have beach ball volleyball. When we're having this event, we want to have fun. We kick cancer's butt. We want to let off some steam. And then this lady came up to me, and I was at Becca's, and I was noticing she had beautiful tattoos, and she comes up to me, she goes, I hear you're wanting to do the Relay for Life. She goes, I'm going to do facials for the survivors. And I did not want any food at my thing, meaning people can bring picnic baskets. My event has to be rain or shine. Apparently, the other days, you know, like if I did it another day, if there was going to be rain, I couldn't fall back and go on Saturday. I don't mind that it's rain or shine. I can get my equipment. I'm probably going to be setting up and not going to church. I hate missing church because Tom Melville's my Sunday school teacher, but he's going on a mission trip. So I don't know how long he's going to be gone. But I can set up underneath that thing. I want you guys to look at something else. Okay. The parking for participants is right next to where the kids' playground area is at. It's not really illustrated that well on this map. That area, I was picturing that they can have their, you know, if they have, I don't know what those are called, the tents, you know, for their teams or whatever. Tomorrow I meet with the American Cancer Society, Tatiana, because I have to get that approved with them. Basically, the survivors complained at previous events here locally with the Talent Factory, and I'm not being rude to the Talent Factory, but it was all about their thing. It was when we were indoors at the high school or middle school, I can't remember which. It was just so loud. They had them in like, I'm assuming it was like an auditorium. I am so sorry. We were in the gym. I was there just with my son and I, and it was all about the Talent Factory. It was, we're going to sing now. We're going to perform now. It was this, that, and them. It was their show. It was their shindig. For me, I've been doing the Relay for Life. This will be my 9th year. I've always volunteered at it, whether I'm passing out shirts, whether I'm participating. As a survivor, it is our day. If we want to sit, my friend Aaron has survived 2 forms of cancer. If we want to sit in a lawn chair and look pretty all freaking day, we can. If we want to visit. I do have the schedule, and I'm so sorry I didn't bring it with me, but instead of luminaries, whatever those things are called, I'm so sorry. We're going to have signs. We're going to get poster boards. We're going to get the beach ball, volleyballs. We're going to have the survivor lap, the caregiver lap, everything that you guys normally had, but it's not going to be an all-day event. It's going to be 12 to 5. The reason why is because it's just too exhausting for anybody that's kicked cancer's butt. It's been 2 years for me, and right now, I'm looking at it, it's my bedtime.
Okay, Robin, do you know, what parts of the park are you talking about?
Mainly focusing on the gazebo to the beach ball volleyball court and not using the other areas.
So you're going to want the circle around the gazebo, but are you talking about closing off the Meridian Street entrance? Or
I want them to enter on the Meridian Street.
Okay.
entrance.
So you're talking about using the circle there by the gazebo, and that would be your walking area, and then you're also talking about using the volleyball court?
Yeah, originally, Robin, when we spoke 3 weeks ago, if that could come back up, guys, I'm sorry. We talked about, closing it off there, like we did in the past for Relay for Life.
Right, there by the ball court.
And then it was around the gazebo, and like she said, this is new to me around the gazebo, but we had shut it off. Let me just come down.
So that's where you wanted it the road shut
Yeah,
off?
originally we talked about right here.
Yeah, I'm trying.
The 39 and then closing that all off, which would allow people to come in and park there. Now it looks like we would have to shut off people from coming in here and just closing down this area basically here, or we could stop it there, just closing this little area. You'd still have Northeast Street and 39 if you want to get to this parking and that. So there wouldn't be no traffic, no walking here.
Right.
We have the beach volleyball, and that's new too. I didn't know that was gonna happen.
That just recently came up,
Okay.
the idea. But I'm open to whatever street
Yeah.
closures. You guys know that area. I don't know.
I would say her proposal then would be closing off this, and we would use the gazebo there, and then putting up some kind of blockage there so cars could park there. They'd still have access to the playground, which is right there, and access to the, rest of the park.
There's no like circular lap of walking on an ongoing basis like what I remember for
No,
Relay
it
for
used
Life.
to-
It's more of an event where you
Yeah.
come hang out.
Yeah, originally, like a few years back, 5 years back or so, before they went out to the 4-H grounds, they would use, where's the tennis court?
It's a
And
Saturday.
it was just too much. It got to be too much. People couldn't do it. They set up their tents all along here. Robin is not setting up tents, correct? Or you're gonna have just signage? You might have.
They might have those, I don't.
Little
when I-
pop-up tent.
Yes, I'm not meaning like they're not gonna camp. I'm sorry if I can't remember what stuff's
good.
called, but you know when you go to the Relay and they have the tents?
Yeah. the little
Right.
pop-up
Yes.
10 by 10 tents.
What day did you say, Robin?
May 5th?
Which
So it's a Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah, because she said after church. Yeah,
And noon to 5, our traffic isn't gonna be bad.
I have a question, though. Okay, instead of instead of closing off Meridian Street,
Okay.
because my concern is you've got that all the way open when they come off 39 and they come all around there and then that's closed.
Mm-hmm.
Can we leave Meridian Street open and just kind of, I'm trying to visualize the street around the
It'd be real
gazebo.
difficult because of if they're gonna walk in the road there to go around. Yeah.
Well, we're also having the sheriff's department and them help us out if we need anybody to
That's
direct.
gonna be real difficult because they'd be driving in and there's no way, because that's the parking area over there.
Right?
This is the parking, and this is how you get the access to either the parking by the playground or going on around to the backside of the park along 39.
Talking
And there
5
there
hours.
isn't, unless we put some kind of partitions there or whatever,
But you understand what I'm saying, because
I
people,
guess.
okay, the people that are driving around the park, whichever way they come off 39 or off Uland, there, by the cabin.
Right.
If they come around, they aren't going to know that's closed.
yeah, you're right. Unless we say event or put signage there, Originally, we were she was going to ask to close off here, and then you could still have access this way. That's what they did in the past, is closed it off here. So you had this parking.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of safety, because people are going to drive around there unless we can put something up and close it off.
Turn around, we could put it, I mean, it's 5 hours.
We could close that off. That's what I'm saying.
Brad Bailey or whoever your
I
sheriff
already
department
talked
is.
to Brad Bailey at the Boys and Girls Club fundraiser about this event. Everybody knows me because I have a criminology degree, so they're like,
And they're early in May.
what I
We
was
have
gonna
no
ask,
events
5
going
hours,
on.
I mean, is that-
After that, we have the Mel Canyon race that next weekend.
oh dear.
Yeah.
So then with the baseball,
No, I already checked on that too for that date for May. It is the same date. You've stayed with the May 5th, same date on the Sunday. We're fine.
Okay, if we can do that, then close off the Meridian Street exit, let the participants in, but I'd still close off that where you come off.
Okay.
I'm just thinking of people.
That'd be fine with me.
I'm thinking of
That was new.
safety.
We were gonna close it, or that was the presentation
Yeah.
originally, to close that off.
I just think
I mean, we haven't had
safety-wise.
Relay Life for 2 years now. Has it been?
Actually, they had
Third
it.
year?
They had it this year with me bringing some people to the park, and then the churches participated. They had it last year, and it was indoors, but it was kind of,
Yeah.
it was, how do I nicely put this? It was poorly organized.
Yeah, the years prior to that, we did around the tennis court, and then we had bad weather, so Brad and I had to shut the thing down before they did the luminaries. And then the following year, we did it at the other end of the park around the, where we had just showed earlier.
Yeah, I
And
remember that.
had little bags with lights in them, whatever those are called, luminaries. Yeah, all around there, and it was pretty neat. Plus videos with all the cancers, passings, and yeah. So.
But I think if we can, if you would just want to look at that and see if
Yeah.
that'll work, and then you can let her know. But
And I
think
might
that-
need another map so you guys can explain, so when I come the day of the event, I know.
Oh yeah,
Traffic.
we'll communicate before then, prior to.
And I'm sorry, I
She
don't
was
have
at the
such a
pool
cool presentation.
No, that's good.
No.
No, like we spoke before, you came, she's come in a couple times, and you have another leader out of Zionsville. Is that who she is, or is she out of Indy or Zionsville?
The lady with the American Cancer Society,
Yes.
I got to meet with them tomorrow, and her boss. And of course, we're having Mexican food, because anytime I have a meeting, there has to be some food. Y'all are getting some important thing, because I already ate before I came here. I'm always eating, just so you know.
But you will, if they'd like to sit down and talk to, and we can go through the
Yeah.
rest of it, if that's all right
But
with you.
otherwise, we
Yeah.
can make a motion that for you to
The
put
5th is good? Okay, that'd
Done
be
the
great.
event.
That'd be good. Okay.
I just picked that day because I wanted it to be an educational thing about Cinco de Mayo, and I wanted to speak about that. And then I'm giving the microphone to the people that are survivors or caregivers. My son and I, when we participate in that, he's my caregiver, and he's 8 years old. So he walks the gym floor with me. And he said something to me the other day, and Ricky's 8, he's a straight A student. I don't know where he got that from, but anyways, he goes, "Mom, you had cancer," and he kind of for a minute said, "I had to go through that." And I'm just sitting here thinking, okay, I mean, when you have it, your whole family has it. But my husband, since it wasn't melanoma, it was basal cell carcinoma, was like, it's not a big deal. Well, they removed like 5 moles, and I'm like, okay, I can do this, just act like I'm getting a tattoo. We'll do this. Well, I have 5 stitches here and 7 underneath. They do it while you're just sitting there, And then it got 16 moles, and I got 1 on my face, and then I went to Merle Norman, and I said, okay, let's put on some makeup, so I can do this thing. I think it's one of the greatest honors to be able to do this event, because when I decorated the town that one year where we decorated with the purple ribbons,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was the only survivor that they had seen. 1 out of every 3 people will have cancer.
Wow.
In their entire lifetimes. Now,
I think it's a great cause, and I'd go
I'm
ahead and ask
38.
park board for a motion if you want to go ahead with a
Yeah,
motion.
we just need to make a motion to approve your date and get with John on that.
There you go.
Finalize the route, and you're all set.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion for May 5th for the Relay of Life at the park?
I'll make a motion that we have Relay for Life May 5th at Lebanon Memorial Park.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you, Robin. Yeah, and just stay in touch. That's good.
Let me shake y'all's hand. I'm in a dress because I sweated through my other outfit.
All right.
Either that or hot flashes, I figured it out.
It was warm today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Robin.
Okay, now I gotta meet with them over Mexican food, I'll be good.
Okay, now the next thing on the agenda is the director's report.
All righty. The Civil War reenactment was this last weekend. Abe Lincoln visited, made his appearance again at the park. The weather was perfect, and I can't tell you how many attended, just hundreds and hundreds. I don't know what else to say. A couple thousand probably, at least.
It was my first time. It was pretty cool.
It is. That's, and they did a nice job. Cleanup was pretty good. Linda Ridgway and the crew there, Karen and all of them, they do a lot of work there. 3 ladies pretty well take care of all that. I think it's
They do.
amazing. Anyway, great turnout 2 weeks ago for the Life Centers run. Been busy, a lot of weekend rentals since the weather is still holding off. Great start to the fall season. We finished draining the pool last week, and Spirit Corporation came out and helped us winterize the pool. We will finish the process in the coming weeks with dismantling the umbrellas and stacking chairs and winterizing and much more. We've also looked at repainting the pool, which I know 5 years doesn't seem like long to repaint the pool, but we've gotten prices upwards over $60,000 for doing that. We have 3 bids in, which we'll be going forward with that. I'm not sure if we're doing it yet this fall or in the spring, hopefully in the spring, but I'm trying to narrow them down to get that. But it is what it is. They have to blast all the old paint off. It's epoxy paint. It's 2 parts where you mix it. A lot of work. It's something that I don't want to take on with our employees. So there again, I've talked to other communities and their pools, and they said theirs last anywhere 2-3 years. Ours has lasted 5. It's really held up well, but it's time. So we will be moving forward with that. Hopefully get that done in the spring. Central Elementary 3rd graders came out at Memorial Park this past Friday. They visited the inside of the Her Cabin along with exploring our water park. This was the 2nd year for them exploring the parks. And I received today after work, the neighbor boy came over and gave me a bunch of thank yous from 3rd graders. And I tell you, drawings and pictures, and it is just great. And that's something that I really enjoy. I get to speak with the 8th graders. Todd and I think Lauren Taylor has also done it. We get to speak to the 8th graders, but these 3rd graders are another group that, I mean, golly. And boy, do they have a lot of questions. It's like, it's really fun. And I want to thank Central for coming out. They're just a great group, and the kids are just super. Lebanon Youth Football League season is going great, and they just started their playoff games this week. There again, they called practice last night due to mosquitoes. They called it early. They wanted to know if we would treat for those. No, we will not treat for the mosquitoes. They can hire that out as long as they come through the Parks Department. But mosquitoes are pretty vicious out there. But I think go out in your backyard at sunset. I think everybody has the issue. And with the humidity and all the rains we have, it is what it is. So there has been, I have heard that what we do have some, what is it? It's not Vika, it's the other one, the disease that's hit.
West Nile.
West Nile. Yeah, West Nile is in Boone County and Lebanon also. So the health department's been out and tested a few sites on our parks, and we'll get those tests back as soon as the state. I'll relay that on. Those haven't been found in our parks yet, but we are testing. So our dates for Fright Force this year, October 25th, 26th, 27th. Last chance to volunteer is tomorrow night. That's where we draw the cutoff, and if you're going to volunteer, please come out by tomorrow night. That way we can do a background check on everyone that's volunteering and all that. So Allison's putting in quite a few hours, and we have quite a few good groups. We're really looking forward to it. We are making progress on our current projects, as we stated earlier, with the Splash Pad Dog Park and maintenance room. It's still not fast enough, is it? It moves too stinking slow. I think we'll all agree to that. We have completed repairing our sidewalks along 39. There might be a couple more that we have to get as when the weather cools down a little bit. And other than that, just trucking along. We've done quite a bit of work on the Conservation Club. That is such an exciting project, and just doing a great job down there of cleaning out the invasive species, knocking out some trees, and looking forward to that master plan finally being finalized. We might take the barbed wire down that's out there. We talked about coating the fence just for the frontage, coating it black. I think just for the time being, it just looks so much better if we do that. So if we have time, we will go into that, but we're going to keep moving forward with taking that out while we have time. Doing quite a few repairs on some buildings too. We had water at the driving range that not sure how something got shut off, but the push pump that we have in there, and needless to say, we had to tear out some walls. We're going to leave it so we have more storage. It kind of worked out. It benefited.
Win-win.
Yeah, it was. Anyway, that's what we have. Everybody's doing well. We also, the Taylor and Allison, been looking into software. We're looking into upgrading our software. We have to get it approved through the attorney and the clerk's office. But we have 3 quotes on that to have better communication, and possibly even there's so many benefits with it. I'll have them make a presentation to the park board.
That would be good.
Yeah, it's also the transferring of monies and different things, and it's just an upgrade and tracking purposes. Also, there's different levels, and I'll let them explain it, but we can do barcodes on some of our equipment so we can track our maintenance records and just keep everything, our playground inspections, on and on and on, but keep track of our assets and actually have a nice catalog rather than pen and pencil and trying to locate. And anyway, it's just that's part of my part that I like. They like the other part where it's going to help our website out tremendously. So they've researched it because they're more have more technology than I do. So anyway, looked into it. They'll be. I'll ask if they could come in November and present that.
That would be interesting. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Are they also looking at the software for the dog park?
Yes, that's part of it. That's what we're trying to, because I knew I had to have something going there. So, plus a tracking system for our pools. I hear other pools can do it. We looked at Danville's, and they've researched it very well, calling other parks so they aren't reinventing the wheel. But then they brought in some other groups, and like Danville said, boy, we went on the cheap. We should have spent another $1,000 a year, because it will be an annual price, but we can pay that out of the profits from the concessions, which will pay for itself. I think the benefits with it. But I'll let them discuss that in November, because they're really good about it, and I know enough to be dangerous. So there again, that's what we have going on, and I think there's a couple new events that you guys approved tonight that I'm real excited about. I think that's great that we can add, and I'm kind of glad to see Relay for Life. I hope it does better than it has in the past.
Yeah, hope so.
And anyway, it's all good. That's all I had.
Okay. Well, thank you. And the Conservation Clubs does look really nice. You can tell where you've really cleared things out. It looks very nice. Okay, if everyone's had a chance to look at the claims, I'd entertain a motion to approve the claims.
I'll make a motion, we approve the claims.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, hearing no other business to come before the board, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Good night, everyone.
What happened with the reps in there? What happened with the reps that are in?